art and fashion and creative industries is a reflection of our society today.
Some artists might have been scared to express what they truly felt, believed in.
We want to show our creative side to the world and be accepted and be appreciated.
I think the world is too big to be afraid that we will not find our place. There is also demand for our local identity.
Welcome back to the Astana Times Unplugged podcast, where we break down complex terms into simple ideas. Today we're going to talk about art in Kazakhstan, both its modern interpretation and its history.
Our today's guest is Sandugash Beisenbekova, founder and creative director of ShyraQ Studio, a studio that is reviving Kazakh rug-making traditions. Welcome to our studio, Sandugash. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you for invitation. First of all, hello, Ibershun, Aida, and your audience. I think I'm privileged, first of all, that I'm invited second time to be interviewed by the Astana Times, and the audience of Astana Times can be, let's say, not specific, but thoughtful audience.
Sophisticated,
Sophisticated.
I like to call them sophisticated.
Yeah, sophisticated. And here there is a thin line between to be honest, to be objective, and at the same time to know your identity. The last podcast I saw was about the Middle Powers, and as your guest mentioned, and Aibasha, I think, highlighted, it used to be that the scientists and the scholars would study about Kazakhstan from outside, where we have Soviet scholars, and there is a time when we can look at ourselves objectively from the inside, and this is one of the interesting part of your podcast, I think.
That's exactly what we're going to do right now. I think I would like to start exactly with that, by looking at ourselves through our viewpoint, not dictated by somebody from the outside. And first of all, I would like to ask you about how your projects and maybe projects that you see from other people who participate in the art industry and creative industry of Kazakhstan, how do they strive to open up Kazakh identity through the artwork?
I think it's not the matter of the questioning of how, because we operate in the art industry and creative industry, and the difference between creative industries and industrial sector, people who come to this sector or who come to this sphere are those who are driven by their soul, by their DNA, or by their philosophy. And it's not that people want to serve certain demand of the market. Yes, there was a time in history of Kazakhstan when art, especially in Soviet era, when art and creative industries were used by authoritarian government as a symbol or tool for propaganda and implementation of certain policies. And if you look at the art during Kostev period, this is Soviet realism era, right? After gaining the independence, we had this era of freedom, I think, where each person had own opportunity to represent and express himself or herself. There were, let's say, light side and dark side of this freedom. From light side, you can express whatever you thought, whatever you was concerned. From dark side, especially nowadays when we have social media and certain algorithms, people have access from different sources, and sometimes these sources are not, I don't want to word regulated, but the moral and ethical norms are not observed. And here people can be lost. And therefore, I always say in my industry, in my business, that we don't look at the history just to be historic or just to be Kazakh. We want to learn about reference not from last 70 years, but the reference from our ancestors to have certain pillars and markers to move in the future.
I have a question here. When you talked about the light side and the dark side, I also, the idea came to my mind. I think there are two types of scholars or people in general. Ones who are really into preserving what we had in the same form as it was centuries ago. Because they say it's a true art. It's authentic Kazakh art or craftsmanship. And there is other side of the people who think, well, we are living in a more modern world.
Absolutely.
There is globalization happening around the world, so we can adjust, we can make adjustments. We can change our authentic form of art into something more modern. Where are you in this stance?
Personally, I have this vision that we operate in interior design area when we say about rugs and carpets. And in the creative industry, there is another industry, it's fashion industry, which is not only about beauty and trends, but first of all, art and fashion and creative industries is a reflection of our society today. So our concerns today, what we're concerned about, what we strive for, what we love, what we hope for our kids. And in this regard, art and creative industry is representation of the current modern world using the reference of old. And this is a philosophy of our brand, let's say. Last April, I visited Milan Design Week. It is held already 63rd time. And Milan Design Week is the main event in global interior design sector. And here you can find the main trends. And when I talked with different interior designers and creative directors of design companies, and I asked the same questions as you do, and their vision was the same. And when I asked about what is the modern issues we have and how we can reflect by interior, we live in AI era.
Yes.
And social media. On one hand, we are more connected than ever, but from another side, we are more disconnected, and there is a big issue about not solitude, but loneliness.
Yes.
And most interior designers, when they provide their furniture or their chairs or their textile products, they think about how we can connect people, how we can connect people using the space. And in this regard, going back to your question, Kazakh society historically, traditionally was based on tribal society. And for us, it's more important to know where you're from, not only in terms of the space or location geographic, but also your
tribe,
your tribe, your belongingness. And our design, if you look at the yurt, the traditional Kazakh design, is all about connection, it's all about mobility. For instance, our kurak kurpe, this patched.
It's a quilt mattress,
Yes,
I would say.
yeah,
Kind of type of quilt
yeah.
mattress.
You can use it everywhere, and you can use in different shapes and in different location. And here, when we look at the nomads, we cannot say about loneliness. We talk about togetherness and maybe solitude, because when they travel far away, they were not ever isolated. And I think when we look at our design and our work, we want to use this reference in order to tackle the modern issues or modern concerns we have nowadays.
I'm interested when you said about the Soviet time, it was used as most of the time, many things, not only art, cinema, music, you name it, was used as part of a propaganda tool. And I'm interested today, those artists with whom you communicate, yourself, for example, when you create something, when others create something and you see it with your expertise, do you feel that there's still some impact left by that legacy? Because it has been 70, like we've been part of the Soviet Union 70 years. It has both good and bad, like anything else in the world, sides. But still, I don't think like after we became independent, we changed dramatically, and this never like it's never going to affect us anymore, because there are still people who are like in their 50s and their 60s who are still creating, who want to create art, and they lived in that era.
Absolutely.
I'm interested, how does such a big authoritarian machine affect people, and how easy or not easy it is for a human being, for an artist, to live it in the past and just move on, if it's possible.
Question. I love it.
If it's possible,
Yeah.
at all.
Personally, not going to the names. Okay, you're right. Soviet legacy would be always part of our modern life, not only in the art but in other areas of our life. But still, there is freedom in comparison with those era, I should say. And those authors, in order to operate in that reality, maybe they, even Kostev, maybe he didn't have such freedom in order to reinterpret or portray real Kazakh life and Kazakh reality at that time. But even though they tried within the frames they had at that time to portray the reality they think. And in this regard, we have so many authors and painters and directors who really had a different view. And if you look at their works at that period and nowadays, there is a big contrast. And those people, for instance, one of our members of our ShyraQ project, he used to prepare monumental big tapestries portraying the Soviet lifestyle. But nowadays he can portray the current issues like climate change or issues of economic disparity by their art. So what I'm saying is that maybe I'm too not optimistic, but maybe I have this belief that each artist or each person who works in creative industry is person who doesn't come just because it is a business or his parents or her parents said that you should do this. Those people are people who came with their own soul needs of their soul. And in order to be real artist, you need to be not only true with the society and reality, but first of all true with yourself. And maybe I might have been biased because I want to see my reality, and in my reality, most artists and creative people, they might be educated in Soviet era and propaganda, but using these techniques, they still can have dialogue and talk to us, talk to society about who we are, what we are surrounded by.
Yeah, I think it's good that another impact of the Soviet Union, it's not just the propaganda, it's the changing the mentality of people, so that some artists might have been scared to express what they truly felt, believed in. So if that has faded since the independence, then it's good news. And it's bad news if there are certain people who are still afraid to express themselves, because sometimes psychologists say we have this fear, even if we haven't lived in that era, but our parents, they might have instilled in some of us certain fears. And I think sometimes another effect of that era is that people are still afraid to express themselves freely.
Yeah.
I noticed that in some people.
But I think it's very important. Why I asked you this question, it's because I feel it's very important to actually live through it, reflect on it, actually think about it, sit in it, in that legacy, whether it's good or bad, however you see it. Because I'm afraid that we often feel like the society or the West or whatever says to us, this is bad. So we like, look at it, it's bad. We should think this way. And we never go deep into it to realize who we are now, because so many layers of history happened to Kazakh people and to people in generally who lived on this territory. And I would really like to see us to reflect on that, to be honest, like you said. It's very important to be honest first with yourself. And I think the art is just like the perfect space for it. You can't do reflections in mathematics or some like, not humanities department. It should be something related to literature, to art, to, I don't know, something creative.
I think you mentioned about psychological aspect of this experience, but I would love to also add about from the institutional perspective. In order to have propaganda during Soviet Union, in order to govern and manage people in creative industries, they created this institution, so-called association or union of artists, union of photographers, or union of directors. And these unions were the tool to have order or to manipulate or to govern people to a certain direction. What we see now, we still have this legacy. We still have these unions. I'm not sure how it operates now, but I was wondering if it's still managed the same way, the same philosophy. And the second, what is the share of young artists in this area and in these unions? In this regard, if we look at the current reality, recently I met with one interior designers. He's specialized in product design, and he mentioned that they created together with his friends a guild of product designers. And this is very independent institution which is united by like-minded people. What I'm saying is that what we are changing now, it's not only our internal concerns and psychological games, but also institutionally we should think about how our sector is constructed in terms of institutions. And the role of independent galleries, modern galleries like Z Destination in Astana, or there is a beautiful modern art gallery in Atrau in regions where there is a real demand in support and networking.
We will talk about it like in just a few moments. I know Aibushin has a few questions about that specifically. But I just wanted to wrap up this part about identity, about our past and future, with the fact that we not only had this legacy of Soviet Union and our layers of history way back. We were part of the Soviet Union and Russian Empire. But we also have globalization, which also dictates a lot of trends and demands a lot from artists, from just an ordinary citizen, because we're part of the global networks all over the world, TikTok, Instagram, and etc. We are part of globalization, and on the example of ShyraQ products and the work that you do, how do you think it's easy or difficult to preserve this identity, a very complex identity, as we already mentioned, when we talk about also globalization, because we want to show our creative side to the world and be accepted and be appreciated.
Absolutely.
So that's an interesting game too.
Globalization can be opportunity and can be the risks. I'll tell you why. And if you know if you do SWOT analysis, you can provide the map how to achieve your goal. As I mentioned, I visited Milan Design Week and Salone de Mobile, and during this exhibition, I met incredible personalities with diverse background, and there were 2,100 participants, just only participants, not even guests, without mass media. So, and it's huge event for 1 week. And world is much more diverse and bigger than we expected. And each country has its own place, because since I'm working in rug making industry and sector, I was particularly interested in producers of rug making. And it was amazing that most companies who exhibited their pavilions in this exhibition had managers, Russian-speaking managers. And I asked them, as always, I'm curious, why you have Russian-speaking, because no other pavilions didn't have so many Russian-speaking managers and salespeople. And they told me that rugs mostly popular in this part of the world. And for me, it was a revelation that there is a demand not only inside of Kazakhstan, but outside of the Kazakhstan, and it's not only Western world, but also we can argue about Soviet propaganda or whatever, but we also created one union, one geographic position, one geographic space with common...
With some values that are
some values are
similar,
common and tastes are similar. I also saw many rug-making companies who use Oriental motifs, which is very close to Kazakh motifs. And one rug was called Turan, and it was produced by Italian company. And for me, it was amazing that in Italy they know this word Turan, which means that there is a connection there and there is a demand. In terms of the risks, there is a huge competition, and we should be honest in this. And Italy, even though the major design companies, interior design companies are from Italy or Belgium or France, most handmade rugs are produced in Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, and Nepal. And we are competing not only with big vendors and queens and kings of marketing, but we also compete in terms of the production and cost saving with this developing world. And right, I think the world is too big to be afraid that we will not find our place, but still we should know that there is also demand for our local identity, because we know our market better than others. We have common values. We just need to study and research more about our history, about our ornaments, about our techniques, and this is something we're working at.
Yeah, so the diversification will be important in this case because, yes, a lot of nations produce rugs or other craftsmanships, but if we have something unique to offer, then we will have our own customers, as you said, I think. Yeah,
absolutely.
And when you spoke about the institutions, now going to the, I want to talk about art spaces more. I first met you at your exhibition that you organized, ShyraQ exhibition, where you gathered a lot of artists in the Forte Colenche art space.
Absolutely.
So how is the organization of art space in Kazakhstan now? What it takes to organize an exhibition, especially for young artists, young craftsmen and craftswomen. Is it difficult? How difficult it is? Yeah, what it takes to do that? Speak from your first-hand experience.
If refer to my personal experience, we started our project in 2023. And at that time, since I have this background from investment banking, and our average age of our project was 10 years project, and preparation period about 3 years, and I thought I would spend 3 years for preparation of my marketing efforts, operations, and then we will start producing and selling. And for us, was important to start this project not as a business per se, but mostly as a cultural event, because there is a perception when we talk about Kazakh traditional craftsmanship, and this is hello Soviet legacy, that if it is local and handmade, it's applied art, it's not important, it's not beautiful, but worldwide, handmade is always expensive because it's labor intense industry, or also capital intense industry. And we decided that we need to change paradigm and mindset of people by launching this ShyraQ project, like exhibition, where we can portray about rich history of rag making of Kazakhstan, which starts from Saka period to the current modern world. And at that time, thankfully, I'm not originally from the art or creative industry, and I am mostly from the business segment, and I have experience in corporate world, 11 years, right? I didn't have a question about state support or public expenditures. For me, it was, there is a demand and it should be supported by public, and it means there is a conscious and socially responsible business who have the same values as we do. And therefore we approached at that time Forte Bank, which who have this logo of OU, and for me I was thought maybe they are interested in local ornaments, local industries, and local craftsmanship. And I was right. It was right spot. It was not straightforward. It was not like a one-day miracle. It was long process of negotiations and work back and forth. But still, you have belief in your business, in your mission, and you can find the way. What I'm trying to say is that for young artists, I wouldn't say that it's easy to find opportunities in our country, although there are two sources of getting noticed and getting opportunity to be presented in the galleries. First route is via government support if you are a member of these unions and associations. And when I talk with some young artists, they told me that it's not so easy to get into these unions. Maybe it's I'm biased and my selection process, whom I talked, was not too narrow to see it, but this is what I saw from people, from young artists.
Do they mention any reasons why it's difficult?
Because they ask people to have certain portfolio, to attend certain events, and maybe these events are not of the same value they have. For instance, to portray Astana or like, I don't know, the people of certain party or something like this. This is one way. The second way of getting opportunity and chance is via independent galleries who are supported either international donors or local sponsors, local businessmen, or even by government public fundings. I think IMA have some funding, or for instance, there is a gallery, modern art gallery in Astana, which is Uzgiris, right? And I saw that they also have give opportunity to young artists. So we cannot say that the government is only one-handed, yeah, but there are different routes. And not all young people know all these routes and options. And in this regard, when I talk to people with the industry, we always discuss about this channeling education system with business and government support. And this channel is very thin line and very important, especially by during when we support young artists. This year, I think we created the Creative Industry Fund, and funds from gambling industry is collected in this institution, and then they are redistributed to the industries in a creative sector. And when I look at the distribution system, I see a lot of creative hubs. I didn't see modern galleries, art galleries. Maybe it's just I don't see it. What I would suggest, what is missing from my perspective, is collaboration and cooperation between institutions who prepare young artists like Shabit, Jurgenov Academy. In Turkestan, we have really good
universities.
Yeah, we have a lot of colleges in the Shymkent. Also, we have art colleges, I think, after Kosteyev. And I think these creative hubs can be created within these institutions, or can be can cooperate more and collaborate with more of these institutions, so that they would have more chances to be noticed, to attend new galleries and attend new projects, be it art, cinema, or fashion. Sorry, I'm all about art because I'm the person who operates in this industry.
That's the focus of today's conversation.
Do you have any other questions about Uzbekistan? Remember, you were planning to ask.
Yes, I remember. Rita, thank you. I wanted to just go bigger, and we all know that this September in Bukhara, in Uzbekistan, there's going to be a biennale event, large event, and we are really hopeful to see great artists from Uzbekistan and from Central Asia represented there. Can Kazakhstan create similar or host similar large-scale events? Are there enough artists? Is there, I don't know, is it a question of funding maybe? Or maybe is there a demand from the region? What's your opinion about large-scale events?
It's a good question. Actually, we were first in Central Asia who opened up our gates to the modern global world. And it happened in 2018. Dina Baitasova, you remember or not, Borjan Sagir, they organized Astana Art Show. And I'm so proud that I was part of this project, a very short time. And they invited more than 49 countries of the world, including Pakistan, Italy, US, and France. And it was right before, I guess, COVID. And they wanted to have it as a biennale. And there was a very strong support from the top management of the country. And actually what I see nowadays in our art landscape and creative industries currently, after 5 or 7 years, are those people who were represented in this Astana art show. The young artists who attended at that time are those people who you see as headliners of our modern galleries nowadays, and who even attend Biennale in Venice last year, I guess. What I'm saying is that we have potential, we have experience, we have people, and we have infrastructure. I think it's a matter of, and we have demand most of all. But I think it's a matter of institutional framework, because art is very capital intense event, and it requires huge investment. And we need to understand who we want to attract, why we want to attract these people, and where we're moving. Uzbekistan, as you know, just opened their gates like last 2 or 3 years. And when I talk with our colleagues from the sector, every other person asks, are you going to Bukhara, Biennale? And everybody excited about this, and which is good sign, because as the region we are much more stronger as a market. It's more than 80 million people, and we shouldn't consider them as a competitors, but it's for us the opportunity to look as a one market, as a one context, and as a one trademark to go outside of the world. I also would like to mention 2 events which will happen hopefully this May. You mentioned one institution will be opened later. This summer we're expecting, or this year at least, we're expecting that 2 modern galleries will be opened. One is after refurbishment, Celini
in Almaty.
In Almaty,
Yes.
Almaty Modern
Museum of Arts.
Modern Museum of Arts. And these 2 institutions can be a center of gravity. I'm sure they would also have own ideas how we can shape this modern art. And I think it's a matter of question. What I'm saying is that there is a potential here, there is expertise here, there are people here who can create this type of events. We should see it as opportunity and just wait. And I think it's within 2 or 3 years. I will not be surprised that we will have own biennale, maybe not the same format as in Bukhara, but there is a potential there. And it is a matter of collaboration between business and government. Public-private partnership would be really important. When I look currently, like last 4 months, I spent in Sandugash because our operation mostly is located in Turkestan region, and it is in the border with Uzbekistan. And every weekend, I sometimes go to Tashkent because, as I mentioned, Uzbekistan is just opening up their gates. And what I see, not only in the art, but opera, design, or cinematography, they attract mostly the difference from us. They attract mostly Western designers, architecture studios, design studios in the management of their events or big projects. In our practice, what is the difference between us and them? In our practice, we used to use own local forces.
That's very good.
That's very good.
I'm all for it.
All for it, but there is a two-sided sword. We know that the corruption is one of the issues of modern world. It's not only creative industry, it's not only not Kazakhstan, but everywhere. And I think in order to be transparent system, we first need top management leadership in the level of the government. Second is about collaboration in the management of this project, not solely by local specialists, but also in partnership with leading world companies in the sector, as Uzbeks do now. And third is just do it. As Nike says, just do it. Nobody will come to our country, will do this biennale or these art shows for us. It's just, we need to be people not of thoughts or nostalgia. We need to be people of action.
And with the looking forward
Absolutely.
to the future.
Absolutely.
I'm interested that such kind of events, large-scale events, they're not only for young up-and-coming artists to showcase their work, or those who are more experienced to pass down their experience or exchange of ideas. It's actually a great point of gravity for tourism. For it will have a multi-layered effect on the economy, on hotel business, on restaurants, on just for people to know that there is a country like Kazakhstan, and not necessarily to hold such kind of events in Astana. We have different beautiful places. They're very untouched and pristine. And yes, not in many places we have infrastructure, but maybe that's even better, because when I talk to people from the West, they actually admire the fact that they can go somewhere where there's no civilization, as we say. Absolutely. Because they actually are tired of this super technological, super structured life, and they want to see this untouched beauty. So it's one of the...
Yes, they can come to the art gallery or exhibition and then visit nearby tourist locations as well.
Or like Bukhara, I think they're doing it like in the streets of Bukhara.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you highlighted the most important questions. What is important for us as a country, as a government, in terms of the target? Whether we want to be industrial country or whether we want to be touristic country. So creative industry shouldn't be supported because everybody says in the world that creative industry is 5% of GDP and this is the future. No. I think the main issue, the main opportunity is there, and understanding is that it's not a responsibility of one government, of one ministry, or one department. In Uzbekistan, the beauty of infrastructure they are creating, that Biennale is not just to make Biennale of we are Central Asian arts destination. Biennale is a source of attraction and gravity, as you mentioned, about tourism. And I should mention here that Uzbekistan during Soviet period was a main gateway for tourist inflow from West and from the world. At the time it was Uzbekistan, no other countries. Kazakhstan was closed countries because we had nuclear.
We had a lot of
strategic
infrastructure.
And Uzbekistan had cotton industry.
Difference. And nowadays we also have, for last 30 years, we had focus on oil and gas. We have all these precious metals, and there is always you cannot play art industry and tourism in isolation of other industries and strategic needs and priorities of the government. And in this regard, I think when I say the leadership of top management, the top management and leadership should understand that all these resources, natural resources, will obsolete someday, and how we can provide the step-by-step strategy. And this is one thing which is food for thought. And I think you mentioned, I really love your point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like how I phrased this question, why a rug or a carpet cannot be Bentley. And I think it's also why we discuss so many, important things in the art world and our identity, how difficult and what it takes actually to cultivate this taste among people to start collecting beautiful things. I'm just interested. Maybe someday I will start collect beautiful things myself. I'm just interested what it takes to build this. I don't know the word in English, but I know it in Russian. I'm not going to say it, but when you have this taste palette that helps you.
Okay. Let me start with the business perspective, because in order to be sustainable in the art, you cannot always to manipulate emotional attachment of people. It's local, or it's your motherhood. Yeah, it's almost as propaganda. 30 years after gaining independence, after total deficit of material goods like simple kalgotka or jeans, for Kazakhstanis, material world was all about, in the beginning, the opportunity of freedom, but mostly is all about status. If you look at the baby boomers, millennials, it's all about in terms of the clothing, in terms of the interiors, in terms of their consumption behavior, or the visiting restaurants. It's all about status. Who are you belonging? And this trend was trend globally as well. If you look at the fashion and interior and cinema in 90s, you'll see this. But now we are seeing a different perspective, a different world. Now it's not about status. With obsolete resources, with issues as COVID, with globalization, with lack of communication and interaction of people because of all this AI, ChatGPT, and social media, we keen and strive for connectedness, belongingness. It's not about a status thing. It's about empathy, about feeling, about
our shared humanity.
Yeah, shared humanity. And what I'm trying to say, when we represent ShyraQ as a rug, we talk about these values, and these values are most important for us. But as a person from the corporate world, I also can see that like bags, Birkin bags, which can cost a fortune after 10 years, Kazakh rugs, there is a potential investment for a huge opportunity in the future, because most weavers who used to be of their 30s and 40s at their prime age in 90s. Nowadays it's their 60s and 70s. And if you go to Shabit or Jurgenov Gallery, most students, they study Western style tapestries, but there is a rare people who study and operate and sell traditional Kazakh rugs. And after 30 years, after 40 years, if we don't manage to preserve this or to adapt this art, there is a huge deficit for this type of projects and this type of art. So it's up to you. How do you consider whether it is your Bentley as a status symbol, or it's your inner need to preserve something special? Because rug is not just a part of interior. Rug is a lifestyle, the way of communication, the way of doing business. Because I remember in 90s when we have all these shutdowns with electricity, we didn't have all the social media or even computer or even this TV, and we would talk, read books, talk to people. Nowadays you can't see. Even if you walk in the streets, did you notice every other person has its own phone looking at it? Yeah. And it's scary. And I think we need to think about it mostly.
I have a related question here. Talking from my own experience and my own family, I think almost every Kazakh family owns a rug, owns kurak kurpi, a patchwork, owns something made by our grandmothers.
Absolutely.
But when we look at it, we don't see any value in it usually, because it's something, well, it's been there for ages. It's something my grandma made. It's something everybody has. So when we talk about Kazakh craftsmanship as an art form, I think sometimes even locals, we don't really value that. So how do can we change that perception among even ourselves about what our grandmothers and generations of Kazakhs has left before us?
So there will be other grandmothers in 20 years that will live something like this for their grandchildren.
Yeah, because why there is no continuity sometimes? Because younger generation don't see it as something valuable.
Yeah. I think it's going back to Soviet legacy. We are going back every question.
We're circling around.
Circling around. As I mentioned, for instance, my dad, he's against of my business. Not against, but he always critical about what I'm doing now, with all my background, with all my experience and networking. And he's saying, what you're doing? And I understand him, because he was educated in Soviet era, and everything which was local Kazakh used to be archaic, chauvinistic, nationalistic, and this perception of baby boomers as something not valuable was educated to they educated these values to their kids. But it's amazing, I mentioned, I guess, earlier, most our major part of our audience who visited ShyraQ exhibition is around their 20s and 30s, and with uprising and revival of Kazakh modern pop music, fashion industry, people start to understand that this is something special, and our parents, they are not eternal, and they're, for instance, even me, when I was like early 20s, I wouldn't even pay attention to this patchwork or rugs, to be honest. But nowadays, I understand the value of these things, of these artifacts. And it's not just artifact, it's a part of my history, it's part of my legacy. And these these art pieces explain me about myself, about my ancestors. And going back to your question, how we can educate this taste, I think it's a role of exhibitions. It's a role of cinematic products like movies and documentaries, in media's programs like yours, who question who we are, where we're from, and this is something we need to look at. And in my previous life, I had many business trips around Kazakhstan, and my favorite free time action, or how do you call it? Activity was I would visit local museums, and most of them were empty. I was only one or two people I would see in this. But now it changes. What I see from social media, people tag when they visit the exhibitions or visit concerts or performances. And there is we can argue and say pessimistic word about mass media, but also it can be a tool in educating and polishing our taste.
About the role of the exhibitions, I actually had a funny encounter. I was at the Tuskis carpet exhibitions, and so Tuskis is carpet that you hang on the wall, and a woman was swiping the floor. She was working there, and she asked me, "Is this considered art? Because I have this at home, back at home."
I always have this question.
Yeah. So I think, the exhibitions are kind of changing the minds and the perception as well of people.
Absolutely.
And the last question will be, we talked about also presenting Kazakh and Central Asian art form in whatever form it comes to the global audiences. Maybe there are things that make us to look more distinguished and more recognizable. Are there any things like that you can name? Just a few.
In the art.
Yeah.
We are good with working with wool. We are good with ornaments, but we need to do more research in this. I should mention in Milan Fashion Week, Bentley Design, the small company studio, textile studio, attended this exhibition, and it was first time when Kazakhstan represented in Milan Design Fashion Week, and it was you can distinguish this. Maybe we can share some roots with Kyrgyzstan, but in terms of ornaments we are different. So we are nomads, and everything which is related with sheep and textile, since we were mobile, we are really good in jewelry, especially with silver. We have very strong craftsmen, and globally we are recognized. And when I talk with artists and gallery owners and curators, they mention about jewelry. We are strong in textile. Maybe we are not represented as we wish, but this is something we need to look at. We are really good in kosher.
That
Leather making, but we are losing it, unfortunately, and this is something we need to look at, especially the oldest shoes preserved, where the shoes
here.
Which were made here. So these are our potential we need to look at, but not as preservation, but reinterpretation, rethinking, and showing off. I think it's time not to be shy.
I agree, totally.
What a great way to, I think, wrap up this conversation. And we usually have our own tradition. So we ask each guest to come up with one question for the next guest.
And we don't know who he is.
Yeah,
we don't know.
You don't know who that is. And we also have a question for you from the previous guest. In our last episode, we actually also talked about the identity, and Aida came up with a question of identity...
whether an identity is something you're born with and you have already set of beliefs and values, or it's something that you gain due to the environment, due to your upbringing, and etc. Your thoughts.
Okay. I think if you look at the psychological perspective, we have several identities as a mother, as a daughter, as a wife, as a personality.
What about Kazakh identity?
Kazakh identity. We live in a very flexible and hectic world. And Kazakhs, if you look at the photos of Kazakhs like 70 years before or even 30 years before, you would see different faces, not in terms of the fashion or the outfit, but also the sight, the glance, right? The way they look at you. And I believe that it's evolving work in process, the identity, but it's not a working process, not evolving because of the forces outside, but because we're using our internal pillars in order to manage and mitigate the risks surrounding you. What I'm trying to say is that we have certain DNA, certain code of ethics as nomads, as a nation, and we use these tools in order to address the issues and tap opportunities of the modern world. So it's a both way. It's certain pillars are core, which respond differently with different challenges of the modern world. If you get
Yeah,
perfect.
it's true nomadic identity, I think. And do you have a question that you ask yourself maybe, or that comes to your mind often? It might be regarding the arts, it might be something different, but
so we can ask this question for our next guest.
Yes.
Okay, if it would be last question, I would, and it would be usually the question which will summarize, I would like to ask, can you name 3 values which would describe your personality?
Okay.
I think that will suit every single guest.
guest.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Sandugash.
very much. It was nice to see you. Thank you
so much.